3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
All right, welcome to Roots of Reality Experiences. I'm your host, Ben Baumann, and today I'm going to be talking about the history of drug addiction. So essentially, since the dawn of our species, people have been using drugs and have been mesmerized by its effects on the human brain, whether using it for medical purposes, spiritual purposes, or just because it simply makes people feel good. Now, some examples historically include drugs like opium, which was used going back thousands of years to the ancient Assyrians in the Middle East, who used this drug for medical purposes. And of course, opium comes from the poppy plant and is the source of the street drug heroin. Today, the country Myanmar is the biggest producer of heroin in the world, and this drug is incredibly addictive and dangerous. Next, there is also the drug marijuana, which comes from cannabis plants and has been used for thousands of years going back to ancient China. This drug is actually the most popular illegal drug in the world, and though it is certainly way less dangerous than harder drugs like heroin, smoking marijuana is still not healthy and can cause lung damage and can increase your chances of heart disease. So despite it having become normalized as a recreational drug across the Western world, but despite its legalization, it is still certainly not harmless to your health, even though there are probably many out there who smoke marijuana that assume it is harmless. And then we have the drug cocaine, which stems from the coca plant and has been cultivated for hundreds of years by tribes in Peru and Bolivia for pleasure and for its use as a stimulant. Today, Colombia is the biggest producer of the drug. Though this drug is not as popular as it has been in past years, it is still a major drug on the market and very dangerous as well. Now, all these drugs that I have mentioned stem from plants, but there is another common illegal drug which is actually created in a lab, and this is called methamphetamine. This drug was created in Japan in 1893 and was even used by soldiers during World War II to aid them in combat as a stimulant. And then finally, the last drug I want to mention is alcohol, which is one of those drugs that many don't even realize is a drug. And many also don't realize that alcohol is a carcinogen, which increases your chances of cancer, especially if you're a heavy drinker, which is why many doctors would recommend that you limit your consumption of alcohol. So with that, I just gave a list of many different drugs that are incredibly popular in the world. And these are just a few of various drugs in societies across the world today. Now, when it comes to societies, though, in general, the largest consumer of drugs is the United States of America. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the fact of the size of the United States, but also just that so many drugs are grown right in the same region of the world as the United States is. But I think the really fascinating question about drug use in general, though, is what does it say about our species? You know, the fact that our species is so obsessed with drug use, it seems, and that's such a problem in society. And I think in many ways, our drug use habits as a species is another reminder of our fragility as an animal on this planet, because recreational drug use serves as a way of trying to escape and cope with the chaos of the world, which we as humans seem to often need in life, because we're constantly battling stress or feelings of unhappiness. And so we're looking for something to take the edge off. And this is why drug use can be so dangerous in the first place. Because when people are most vulnerable, they are willing to take something to try and relax. Which can be a harmless thing. You know, perhaps some people might want to relax by eating some junk food, which, you know, in small amounts won't cause too many health issues. But if obviously you're eating lots and lots of junk food all the time to cope then that's not going to be particularly healthy for you. Or maybe some people drink alcohol to take the edge off, or in some states smoke marijuana. But if you're using a hard drug, that can be incredibly dangerous and also highly addictive. For example, if anyone alive today took an injection of heroin every day for a week, many would quickly find themselves highly addicted to the drug to the point where they would feel like they can't live without it, and may even feel physically ill without the drug. And at this level of addiction, is something that most people can't possibly comprehend or understand, luckily, because obviously this is a much different level of addiction than, I'm trying to fight the urge not to overeat and eat that last cookie that I really, really like. Or, those people that are sort of caffeine junkies, for example. How many times in our life have we heard people that say something like, I got to get my morning coffee, which also many people don't realize caffeine is technically a drug as well because it is a stimulant. And these urges feel like nothing compared to being addicted to a drug like heroin. It's completely different. A hard drug addiction is on another level that anyone who hasn't been addicted to drugs cannot possibly imagine. And that's why hard drugs can ruin people's lives so quickly, and why if someone were to use a hard drug, they would want to get help as soon as possible for it. So in turn, as a society, trying to find ways to combat illegal drug use is a huge challenge and something that we've been battling for decades. And really, throughout the history of our species since drugs, were discovered. Because you're battling these strong biological urges that for users is often uncontrollable. But hopefully with more scientific developments and research, we can find ways to help sort of break the cycle of drug addiction. And of course, the other aspect is the fact that the selling of illegal drugs is incredibly lucrative, and so many people are willing to do it to make money. So until we find a solution to slow down the supply chain of illegal drugs and figure out ways to limit the number of drug users and break the cycle of drug use and addiction societies, this is just going to be something that will continuously repeat, and generation after generation will have to be dealing with this issue. However, that doesn't mean there isn't hope, because there's always something that can be done to combat the problem. And, as I like to say, history is a reminder of us as a species overcoming one problem after another. So there's always things that we can do and that can be done. It's just a matter of whether we have the political organization and effectiveness to put in place policies that actually work, that can end the drug epidemics that continue to haunt societies around the world. So with that, as always, remember, billions of years led to you, so make the most of it.